Are you a new or returning player in Marvel Snap looking for a great deck to play? Lucky for you, I've got 5 different decks, all with a ton of replacements, and they're all not too expensive if you want to get right back into Marvel Snap and start competing. It's a very fun game. My name's Smlz. I am one of the best players in the world at this game, constantly ranked in the top 20, and this is my 5 best returning player decks. First up, we're going to go with an old classic archetype, Destroy. So Destroy is still a Death Deadpool deck as it was many months ago, and the core cards for the most part have not changed. We still have Deadpool, we still have Nico, we still have X23 as those 1-drops. Again, Nico Minoru though is a Series 5 card, so that's going to cost you 6,000 tokens, and X23 as a Series 4 card is going to cost you 3,000 tokens, but all of the other ones are Series 3 and below, which means with time, you'll be able to get all the other 6 cards for free. Again, the main point of this deck is to destroy your own cards, to get more power from them, and then to end the game with big finishers such as a 0-cost death and a massive null. However, in recent months, there has been a ton of support released for Destroy. For example, stuff like Headpool and Moira X. Headpool works really well with Deadpool being able to getting the Headpool Destroy to further increase Deadpool's power as well as the power of all cards in your hand. In Moira X, if you're targeting Destroy, this would be the one support card I would pick up. She can give you multiple deaths. She can give you multiple Venoms. She can give you multiple Wolverines if you're gonna run Wolverine. A ton of really cool points that you can get that you really no other card can do. Destroy is normally a pretty linear deck. That means it's really straightforward in the game plan. It's very predictable. Moira X adds that unpredictability to the deck that it drastically needs. That is the card that makes Destroy competitive in this day and age. You also have cards like Agony that can further scale your Deadpool. It's kind of like the modern version of a Hulkbuster, which you can still run. It's not that bad. Also, you can run a Grandmaster to re-trigger the effects of like Carnage or Venom. However, I will mention Grandmaster is a Series 4. And the other support cards that I mentioned earlier, Headpool and Moira X, are Series 5s. Those might take a little bit more time to save up to, but they're definitely worth it. Agony as well as a Series 4. Now let's kick it to the 3 remaining Series 3 cards, Wolverine, Deathlock, and Arnim Zola. Deathlock is the weakest of the Destroys, so he's kind of fallen by the wayside in favor of other builds of this traditional Destroy deck. However, you can still run him. Same thing goes for Wolverine. However, I would try to run both of them if you're going to run them. If you're not going to run Deathlock, I wouldn't run Wolverine. If you're not going to run Wolverine, I wouldn't run Deathlock. Both of those are perfectly fine things to do. Wolverine is still a decent card. You just have a few other things might be a little bit better to do, such as the Moira X stuff. And Zola, as always, it's a nice finisher. Zola your null with the X23 ramp. It's quite good. Zola the Venom as well. It's good. Some people might be caught off guard, and it's still as fun as ever. When it comes to tech cards, Destroy has a few of them. First up, Shang-Chi. He did get nerfed. He only destroys 1 card now, so I probably wouldn't play him. But still, if you really want to play Shang-Chi, it's fine. It's not good, I think, but it's still fine. Juggernaut is really good. This is the 4-cost tech card I would run. It's quite surprising out of Destroy. People never expect it, and you'll be able to get a lot of cubes after they thought they could tech you with like a Shadow King. Nope. Jug is moving that away, and they're going to Shadow King your null. Spoiler alert, it has base 0 power, so it's not going to matter. Lady Deathstrike is also really good. It's a quite good interactive piece with your opponent's side if you don't want to play your tech card on 6. It can destroy a lot of important threats for this deck, such as like an Iron Man, which makes other decks go taller than you. As for the lists for Destroy, there's 2 of them. There's a 6 1-cost build of Destroy using, well, 6 1-costs and then a lot of Destroys. Stuff like Moira X is essential in that 6 1-cost build to Destroy. And then there's the more classic traditional Destroy list with your Deathlock and your Wolverine. However, we added a Juggernaut in that 1 flex spot. We also added Moira. That should show you how powerful Moira is as a card and how important she is if you want to take your Destroy game to the next level and if you already have all the base cards. Next up, another classic MODOK Apocalypse discard with Dracula. Fan favorite archetype. It did very well recently because it's gotten quite a bit of support over the time. Let's see how the core has changed, and it didn't change at all. Blade, Morbius, Dracula, MODOK Apocalypse. All 5 of these cards are free. They're all Series 3 or below, and they are all really good. I mean, not much to say about them. MODOK's a great discard card. Morbius, one of the best scalers in the game. Dracula can still hide a ton of power. APOC is still pretty big, and Blade is just a 1/3 targeted discard. That's just really good. However, a new card was released that made a massive impact on this archetype, and that was Khonshu. So if you want to play a Khonshu version of this deck, which Khonshu is a Series 5 card, you also are going to need Corvusclave, who is a Series 4 card. Khonshu is very fun. I mean, you're really making it 5, 8, 12. You can scale. It gives you a ult line to do. If you're playing that on 6 and discarding your Apocalypse, Khonshu can bring back one of your other cards. All of a sudden, you played a 6/24, and your Dracula is turning into 28 power. That sounds really good. Corvus also helps you get Khonshu out earlier because it gives you the ramp by discarding cards, which is something you want to do. And if you discard something important like a Morbius or a Dracula, you can just bring it back with Khonshu. If you run one, you're going to want to run the other. Now, support cards for the discard archetype. We've got a few new ones, so I'll start with those. Scorn, Zombie Power Man, Colonel America, and Malekith have all released fairly recently, within about the past year or so. So Scorn is just great discard support card. It scales, it gets discarded multiple times, quite good. You can play it on the last turn, it'll be like a 1/8 or something like that. Dracula discards it, pretty good still. Zombie Power Man was released very recently, as well as Zombie Captain America, which is Colonel America. Zombie Power Man is pretty interesting in some builds of discard. I'm not quite sure how good he is. I definitely hold off on getting him before a lot of the other higher series support cards, but he's still not a terrible thing to do. Colonel America is effectively your second Morbius. It's a bit worse than Morbius, but it still does a lot of numbers a lot of time. This guy in your deck is going to be playing for 12, 15 points of power, and it is pretty impactful, and it can really swing a lane, especially with your swarms. Going to Malekith, this is a bit interesting. There's some builds of discard that try to not run that, like APOC and Khonshu stuff. I don't think they're that great. I would still put APOC as a core card of the deck for the most part, but if you really want to get funky with it, I think Malekith is a cool option. Being able to pull something like a Morbius or something like a Colonel America under there is very powerful. Proxima Midnight was released quite a bit ago. I mean, it's fine. It's a good support card. Not much to say. 0/7 is quite good. As for the older series support cards, Lady Sif's as good as ever with Apocalypse. Just discard it, get it +4. Pretty good. Discard your Khonshu, move it up a stage. That's good. And also Colleen Wing, again, just discards the lowest cost card. It'll discard your Scorns and your Swarms. Swarm, great. I'd run Swarm with Colonel America. For tech choices, I don't really know if it's even a choice right now. You want to run Gambit. As a discard deck, you are not most times getting tall enough to go over a lot of your competition. Therefore, you need something to interact with it. Therefore, Gambit is one of the best interaction pieces in the game at 3 cost, and it works perfectly with your game plan. Try bringing back this guy with Khonshu for a real explosive turn 6. Here's some sample decks. We have the traditional discard build. It's got Zombie Power Man, that can be Lady Sif if you really want to, but it's just what I think the modern build of discard is. You're running stuff like Khonshu, APOC, and you're running quite a bit of low curve. You got the stuff like Colonel America with your Swarms. It's all quite good, and because you're dumping your Swarms out early, they're not going to really get hit by Dracula because you're not going to MODOK on 6. Then we have the Golden Gauntlet, which is one of Marvel Snap's new tournaments. This discard list on the bottom won one of the Golden Gauntlets about 2 months ago. It is still pretty decent. It's got a lot of good cards. I mean, it's got the Gambit, and it also goes for that Khonshu spin. So if you are a discard enjoyer, I would highly recommend prioritizing unlocking Khonshu and Corvusclave so you can further build your discard deck from there. Next up, Cerebro. So Cerebro got a buff to +3 pretty recently, and it has been a menace in the meta ever since, winning the World Championship. Cerebro has 2 main ones, Cerebro 2 and Cerebro 3, as well as Cerebro 4, 5, and 6, which I will briefly address later. Cerebro 2 is definitely the simplest of all the Cerebros. You've got these 8 cards are going to be in pretty much every single Cerebro 2 deck. Lasher, if you have him, run him. You don't need Lasher, but if you have him, he's going in every single deck you have. This is the main 8 for Cerebro 2. It's got Cerebro, Mystique, Luke Cage. Those are your 3 main cards that go in every single Cerebro deck, because you don't want to be afflicted with negative power that can ruin your Cerebro, and also Cerebro Mystique gets you kind of the points. Next up, Storm. It's 1 lockdown, which is really good because you're putting in points like retroactively into those lockdown lanes, whereas your opponent really can't. Goose is really good because it can stop your Cerebro from being interacted with by stuff like Goliath. Lasher is good because it's effectively a double, but it only takes 1 space because you're doubling the Cerebro buff by buffing Lasher and having it afflict the opponent's side. Mr. Sinister and Brood, they just give you multiple Cerebro 2 bodies to allow you to go Cerebro plus Mystique on turn 6. When it comes to the support cards for Cerebro 2, there is many of them. I just picked the best 8 I thought. You have Echo, Electra, Iceman, Nightcrawler, Nico, and Spider-Ham, all as 1-drops. You can pick. I would probably pick 2 of them. I am a big fan of Nico because she draws you 2 cards. Also, stuff like Spider-Ham, Disruption, Nightcrawler gives you movability. Iceman is pretty valuable disruption, and Echo can do a really cool thing, whereas the biggest counter Cerebro is Red Skull. Echo can turn off the Red Skull, therefore keeping your Cerebro intact. It's pretty good. I would definitely prioritize Nico if you are going to get one of these 5 cards. The other 2 cards are Ravonna and Red Guardian. Ravonna lets you go play another card on top of Cerebro Mystique on 6 because both of them will cost 2. And next, Red Guardian, it's just good interaction, has 2 power, pretty good, can turn off an Iron Man. Now on to Cerebro 3. Cerebro 3's got a bit smaller core than Cerebro 2 as it's only 6 cards. Obviously, you still need your Cerebro, your Mystique, and your Cage, as well as your Location Changer, which in this case is Scarlet Witch. The only other 2 cards you are required to run in C3 are Sentinel and Cosmo. Cosmo protects your Cerebros and your Cages from getting turned off, which is extremely important, and Sentinel is continuously generating 3 power bodies, so you can fill your lane so that Cerebro gets a ton of buffs. As for the support cards, there is a lot of them, and they've changed quite recently as well. Cards like M'Baku that just got recently buffed are definitely very strong in C3, as well as you can also run some tech against your opponent, like stuff like Armor, Killmonger, Rogue, Quake. All those 4 cards are very effective tech against your opponent, and they're all low series as well, so you're able to perfectly tech against your opponent for whatever the matchup is. Another important call out here is Mobius and Mobius, who's also a Series 3. That can be an appropriate tech card in specific metas, but currently as I'm recording this, Mobius and Mobius is not that good. Therefore, I wouldn't run Mobius in C3. And you also have some other cards like Jeff that give you just the movement ability that's very, very strong in these Cerebro decks that lets you reallocate power. It also cannot be stopped by Mercury. You also have the last 2 cards, which are both Series 5, but they are an amazing combo. Makari and Bastion. Makari gives you a free 3 power body on the field, and Bastion largely lets you copy your Cerebro, copy stuff like a Jeff, and also copy Makari so it runs back onto the field. You're effectively getting 2 bodies for free on Cerebro 3 if you're playing Makari Bastion. It is an extremely powerful combo. And as for the 2 Cerebro decks, overall, we have Cerebro 2, again, fairly basic. You're running your Brood, your Lasher, your Mr. Sinister, your Red Guardian, as well as on top of your Cerebro Mystique, Cage, Location Changer. Got some flexibility. The Nico is very good. You're really looking for draw 2 on the Nico. It makes you draw 11 cards out of your deck, so unless Cerebro is literally the 12th card, you're going to draw it pretty much every game. And then for Cerebro 3, which just recently won the Marvel Snap World Championship, it's running Bast and M'Baku, and it also has a ton of tech choices, particularly Cosmo, Cage, Rogue, although 2 of those are forced. Rogue is a very interesting third tech card choices. There's a lot of ongoing right now, and Rogue stealing something like an Iron Man can be absolutely devastating. Bastion is also in there as a scaler for when you need to go tall in matchups as opposed to tech matchups, and I think Cerebro 3 is a very, very, very strong deck. When it comes to Cerebro 4, 5, and 6, it's a bit weird, because a lot of these Cerebro decks, specifically Cerebro 4, are actually quite good. However, they are very expensive. You need cards like Esme, Cuckoo, and Prodigy to really run Cerebro 4 to the fullest extent. Cards like Crystal can also help. When Cerebro 5, you need the Ancient One, who copies Cerebro effect using the Tau Mandala to other cards. You can effectively get triple Cerebro and have your 5 power cards become 14 power cards. That's really good. And then Cerebro 6 uses cards like Moonstone to double the buff that Cerebro gives, and Malekith to pull Cerebro more commonly from the deck. Next up is Ongoing, a Pool 1 tried and true favorite, Spectrum Ongoing. However, in modern times, specifically 2025, this archetype has gotten a ton of love, and it is back at the top of the meta. Core cards in this deck, you will see some newer ones. 3 cards released in this year, 2025. Goliath, Sam Wilson, and Moonstone. You're going to need all 3 of these guys if you want to play some Ongoing. Sam Wilson specifically and is incredible in a ton of other decks as well. Moonstone is sort of the core piece of Ongoing, and Goliath is just amazing. It's a 2 cost. It can get discounted by other ongoings like Ravona, and in general this guy's gonna be playing for like 2/9, 2/10, and you really want that if you want to compete on points. Other than that, cards like Mystique are also pretty good in Ongoing, copying a lot of different stuff, and Captain America as well. He's a 3/9 in these decks that has an easy duplicated effect by stuff like Moonstone. If you have Captain America and Moonstone in a lane, you're winning that lane. Now, there's 2 different types of Ongoing builds. There is Iron Man Spectrum, and there's also a V-Hand one. Victoria Hand is a card I will describe in a bit, but Iron Man. If you want to run the Iron Man Spectrum deck, obviously you need Iron Man. You're also going to probably want stuff like Ant-Man, Ravona, Mr. Fantastic. Those are kind of like the base for that you want to run. Ravona is very optional, but if you really want the energy cheat, you can definitely use her. She is a Series 4 though. I don't recommend prioritizing her. Captain Carter is really good in Ongoing. If you want to play Ongoing, I recommend getting a Captain Carter. I think it's very good. However, it is a Series 5, so that might cost a bit. Speed is also a Series 5 card. It's a very replaceable card. You don't need it. However, it is good. Anti-Venom does something really cool where you can cheat out an extra Ongoing card, and you can also use a Loot Cage to restore its power if you really feel it's necessary. I find that Anti-Venom to be a pretty good card in this deck, and then obviously Spectrum is giving the buffs. If I had to prioritize one card though for this archetype for a Series 5 unlock, assuming you have all the core cards, it would definitely be Captain Carter though. When it comes to the Moon Girl V-Hand list, this is a very interesting list. So V-Hand is a card that says Ongoing, your cards that were created in your hand have +2 power. This also counts V-Hand herself. So you can really do some crazy stuff with Moon Girl, because the copied V-Hand, if you Moon Girled a V-Hand, the copied one's going to be a 2/7 that still buffs all the other created cards, which is crazy good. Obviously, you're going to want Quinjet in a Moon Girl list. You're also going to probably want Ant-Man as your support card, as well as stuff like Dazzler, Invisible Woman, Captain Carter, and Speed. So you might have seen Ant-Man, Captain Carter, and Speed on both Iron Man and Moon Girl decks. You might ask, why aren't they core? I don't believe you need to play those cards in your deck the same way you need to play the 5 cards I originally listed. Therefore, I'm probably going to put these guys in just general support as opposed to the core cards that you absolutely need. Although Captain Carter is very good in Ongoing. Again, if you're going to prioritize a Series 5 unlock and you just want to play Ongoing in general, I would prioritize Captain Carter, assuming you have all of the core cards, which in this one are Moon Girl, Quinjet, and V-Hand, and V-Hand's the only higher series card, although she is a Series 5. For tech choices, Ongoing has a ton of them. So for just baseline tech choices, you can run an Armor to stop Destroy, Gorgon to stop decks that are creating a lot of cards like Victoria Hand. You can run a Cosmo to stop yourself from getting Enchantress. It's sort of like a defensive tech card. Mobius, again, stop opponents from getting over the top of you, although I don't think he's that good right now. You also have Shadow King, who is incredible at the time I'm recording this video, and he is just really good at just nullifying your opponent's game plan, whether it be something with the new zombie cards, or it be something like crazy big with something like a Man Spider, which just released. You also might notice in the box we have Mercury and Cannonball. This is an extremely powerful removal combo that's very similar to the Professor X Cannonball stuff all the way back last year. Mercury can move, and by virtue of Mercury being able to move, if you have a Mercury on a Moonstone, Moonstone can also move. That's a really cool interaction. That's really strong. And in general, I definitely think Mercury is one of the cards you should target, especially because of how strong move can be. However, if you're not seeing a lot of move cards, you don't really need to truly focus on getting Mercury, although it is definitely a very nice piece in these Ongoing decks, and Cannonball is a phenomenal finisher. Here are 2 sample decks. There's a Spectrum Ongoing deck. It's pretty simple. It's using some Anti-Venom as some ramp, as well as just a ton of good Ongoing cards. When it comes to the V-Hand build, it is a Moon Goliath build. You're trying to Moon Girl stuff that's really Ongoing. and then get 2 really big Goliaths and V-hands that you can copy and play on turn 6, and it's really strong and really fun. That's my recommended 12 for there. You have both the Moonstone game plan and the Moon Girl game plan, so you're not bricking on a lot of your draws. The last deck I have for you is Hela. Now, this is a very different type of Hela than you might remember if you're coming back to the game that from a few months ago, or even a few years, or even a year ago. Hela has changed drastically. It's using a lot more crazy, funky cards, and I think that this is the best budget deck if you want to compete right away. So, core cards: Gambit, Corvus, Jubilee, Ghost Rider, and Blink, Hela, Odin, Infinite. You cannot change these 8 cards. You're going to need to buy the Blink, and you're going to need to buy the Corvus if you want to play Hela now. It's going to cost you 9,000 tokens, but you can really make the other deck for 0 tokens, if I'm being honest. A lot of the other cards are Series 3 or below. So we have the Agatha Spin. You can also do this. Agatha can give you +1 draw in your deck, and but you have to run Redshift, which is a Series 4 card. It discards Agatha and adds another card. That's a very powerful thing to do. However, if you are running the Agatha deck, you cannot get to run Blade, whereas all other versions of Hela do run Blade. So if you're running Agatha, don't run Blade. If you're not running Agatha, do run Blade. When it comes to support cards, we have Blade and Supergiant as the first 2, the only ones that really cost less than 5 here. Blade, again, discard another card. It's good for Hela. Supergiant can really disrupt your opponent, and it does not mess you up that bad at all. There's a very cool line you can do where you can Supergiant, play your Hela under the Supergiant, and then you can discard cards on turn 6 so that Hela will revive them under the Supergiant at the end of the game. You also have cards like Iron Man that can really scale up your total power. Legion, which can mess with locations, which because you're a Corvus ramp deck, you're getting a ton of value out of. Legion is definitely a card I would prioritize buying if you did want to really play this deck. You can also use Gore, Magneto, and Giganto as just replacement big cards. Another honorable mention not on the slide is Vision. Vision can be pretty good as it can unclog your board spaces, making it easier for you to fully commit to a Hela lane. So you can play Corvus Glaive, Hela, and then Odin for a massive double revive. As for your tech choices, they're all high cost. Gambit was a tech choice in normal discard. You cannot cut it at all in Hela. It is a core card there. For tech choices, you can really pick your poison on the 5 cost. There's Cosmic Ghost Rider, Lady Deathstrike, and Enchantress. Just whatever one you think is going to be best into the matchups you're facing. If you're facing a lot of stuff like zombies, Cosmic Ghost Rider will be the best. If you're facing stuff like Activate, Lady Deathstrike will probably be the best. And if you're facing Ongoing, Enchantress will be the best. And you can also run Goliath if you are running the Supergiant. There's 2 different sample decks I have here. First up is Hela Agatha, running that Redshift Agatha as we see. It's also running Legion and Enchantress in the other 2 slots that we have. As for the Supergiant version of Hela, we're running Blade, Supergiant, Lady Deathstrike, and Goliath in those 4 slots. Again, those Lady Deathstrike, Legion, Enchantress, like all those can really be like kind of whatever combination of 5 drops you want. Just don't run Iron Man and Enchantress together. And that is going to be it. That is the 5 best returning player decks, I think, for Marvel Snap. Also, new players, these are some decks that you can definitely work towards. Definitely some really strong decks here, and I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like on the video if it helped you at all, and leave a comment as to what your favorite of these decks was. I read all of them, and also make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying the content, and thank you for watching. Have a good one.